you are listening to the Kinetic Man Podcast. I'm Stuart.
And I'm David, and we want to walk with you on the journey to living a life defined by uncommon action that is full of purpose, adventure, and meaningful relationships. Our goal is to refine our why while helping you find yours, and together achieve our best and highest purpose. In the end, we'll drive each other to leave the potential life behind and become kinetic men.
And one of the things that David and I love most about podcasting is the incredible conversations and the advice that we get from our guests. Honestly, I truly believe it's the one thing that has made the most impact on me for my personal growth. And what you may not realize is that David and I oftentimes get a ton of free advice before and after the show, spanning from different topics between investing, parenting advice, how to create an epic marriage, health, tips and tricks, and much, much more. Unfortunately for you listeners, we've been a bit selfish and we haven't shared all of that sage advice with you guys, but that's coming to an end. Over the past 3 months, we've started to ask and record this one question to all of our podcast guests. What is the one action step that you recommend taking to level up in your business and in your personal life? And the answers have been life-changing. So the question is, would you be interested in hearing those same answers? We're calling it Leveling Up with TKM, and we want to share it with you. Only for $2 a month, you'll get 4 recorded videos every month in your inbox with those answers to the question that we just asked. And here's how you get it. Go to thekineticman.com/level up. Again, that's thekineticman.com/level up. Sign up today, get those videos, and go take uncommon action. All right. So today we're talking about making change. We're talking about the REAL framework, and we'll get into what REAL actually means. Later on, some of the dudes in here that are part of the Kinetic Man Mastermind know about that. But I'm Stu, and this is my less than average business partner, David Gutierrez. And we're going to get right into it. If I can figure out how to change the screen. All right, here we go.
I live Giving Tuesday every day because I hang out with this guy. So just throwing that out there. If anybody else wants generosity, Stu needs friends. It's a heavy load to carry. Stu, please continue.
All right, so obviously we're getting kind of to the end of the year, and there's, a lot of talk coming up to the beginning of the year about goals and making changes, and everybody seems that, January is the fresh start, and everyone gets excited about that. And obviously there's tons of goal setting that happens, myself included. I set goals in January. My wife and I sit down and do like a goals kind of like half day retreat. We go through a bunch of stuff and talk about what we want to kind of work on next year. But the interesting fact is there are a lot of people that don't set goals at all. And it's interesting why or why not. But I'm just curious, like, from you guys, raise your hands if you set goals for 2023 for this last year. Raise the hands. I see 1, and I don't see everybody at the same time, 2. For the people that I do see, I see 2 hands raised. 3. Okay. Goody, did you make goals last year?
I didn't. Nope. I'm taking the Lyle head approach to life.
So that's interesting. Why did you not set goals last year?
Well, and that's a bit deceptive, right? It's not that I didn't go into the year with goals, but a lot of conversations. There's another guy in the mastermind, and those of you who are active on LinkedIn probably have seen Lyle Head. Amazing individual. We had a lot of conversations within the mastermind, and he's a big anti writing down, setting goals guy, but he's not. If you know anything about him, he is not a low achieving individual, right? Super high achiever. Runs businesses, does coaching, has a lot of different things. But, I've found that oftentimes when I set goals, either 1, they're too small, or 2, they're not really, I don't put as much reflection and quite frankly, the real framework into that goal setting process. And so for me personally, it was very much there was a very personal and a very high level of intentionality to apply to different areas of my life. And that has been absolutely transforming for me this year. But it was almost more in the framework of like the one thing, right? Or that word, like intentionality. and applying that across everything that we do has been pretty radical for me.
Like, man. All right. So for those that did raise their hand who did set goals, I'm curious, and I want you guys to come off mute and actually talk. We like to. This is going to be a discussion, so be ready to engage. For those that did set goals for 2023, how many, or was there anybody that actually took that goal and made like a no kidding, plan of attack, like monthly, weekly, daily, habit planning, set in place kind of type of plan to attack these goals? Was there anybody that did that? Ben, you came off mute. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's funny that what Dave says is like setting the goal. I learned this year I got almost too granular because of the way that life changes, right? Like things change, your plan changes, what you think is going to be happen for the year and what actually comes up. So yeah, I use this here. I use the full focus planner. I don't know if you guys like, but this is something that really worked well for me. It basically is like a monthly breakdown, then like a weekly review and setting your week, and then like daily. And I did, like I had this whole plan. It's like I'm going to do all these things and there's all these metrics and blah blah. Like it became pretty clear that I needed to pivot a little bit more. So like, did I set them and did I try to do that? Yes. Like, but I broke it to like I wiped almost everything clean about 4 months in, and then picked like some 3 or 4 big rocks and then like a couple other things underneath that I was like going to be really intentional about, and then let the life flow from there as well.
Nice. Like, what was that? Journal again?
Oh, full focus planner.
Full focus planner.
Right. Full focus. Yeah. It's so like in the front, it actually has like a breakdown. So this is my new one I'm setting up for the year, but like it gives you like a breakdown of your goals, and then each individual goal, it makes you list in detail like why you want it, what it comes from, and things like that. So it's cool because it lets you only set, I think, 10 total goals, and then when you're That's like awesome. What order you're going to achieve them. So it makes it pretty, like for me, it's just one of those things. Like it's way easier just to like boom, 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 boom.
Yeah, love it.
And no joke, real talk, was biceps part of your goals this year? Because
I didn't quite make it though. I didn't. It was.
I don't know, man. I've seen those things in person. It's real. It's real.
No, but I mean, true. All jokes aside, health is like, as we get older, like health has become like, what does health mean, right? Like, it's a number of workouts. Is it like, so it's gone so much from like, I'm working out X number of days. Like, how am I becoming healthy about my life?
Yeah, I did. I love it. Alex Racy can talk to you about getting healthy. He's completely changed my life. Worth talking to him about that. Who else? Anybody else on here? Like kind of another form of attack that Ben took?
Yes. I would actually agree with Ben on being able to be more focused on certain milestones that you want to hit instead of having a lot of goals. Because I noticed in 2022, I did exactly what Ben did. I had a lot of things and I got very scatterbrained and realizing I wasn't able to accomplish a lot of stuff. But then in 2023, I took the approach of just finding 1 to 2 things and focusing all my attention on that. And it became extremely helpful. And one of the key things that I learned from a few podcasts is with my goals, once I have those goals, kind of just working backwards. Because one of them was to buy a third property before getting out of the military in 2023. So I took that goal and then just kind of worked backwards on what do I need to do to get there? How can I make that life achievable? And I broke that down from a year to half a year to a quarter to a month to a week and daily basis of what steps need to occur. And that became extremely helpful.
Love it, man.
Yeah. Are you guys able to see my video, by the way? Sorry. Hopefully you can.
It's kind of just a white screen there.
Oh, it is? Okay, let me see if I can. Maybe my camera's not faced. What about now?
Oh, yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Better?
It is.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice, man. Goody, over to you.
Yeah, so, I think there's a significant problem that happens in goal making very generally. One, very few people actually set and create goals and then out of that set of people, even fewer accomplish them. And the statistics that we've kind of seen through a number of studies, the one that we've landed on is it shows that about 92% of people fail at achieving New Year's resolutions. And I just, again, just a quick conversation. I'm curious, what, you guys have mentioned that you set goals, use different paradigms to do that, different frameworks. Why do you think it's such an issue to achieve goals? Like, why would 92% of people fail at achieving their New Year's resolutions? And then if you don't mind also answering, like, do you even think it's important to set goals at a failure rate of 92%? Right. So why, what are some of the reasons? And the reason that we're asking this question is to not only in this group to kind of see the commonalities of the struggles that we have and realize, hey, dude, you're not alone. 92%, that's a pretty high percentage of people that don't do it. We're clearly not alone in that. But what are some of the keys and the tactics and things that we can look out for as we do move forward, if this is something that is important to achieve higher success rates? So anyway, anybody pop off?
Hey, I'll jump in here. Can you all hear me?
Yes, sir.
Right on. Scott Adams says goals are for losers. Systems or plans are for winners. And I've had a lot of experience in both of those domains. I think, and I've written a few times about New Year's resolutions and how most people have given them up by February 1. The problem is, in my world, a lot of people want to set a weight goal. I want to lose 50 pounds. So like for the next 4 years, in some cases, they're stepping on the scale for over 1,000 days and they're still a loser because they haven't lost 50 pounds. So instead of saying, hey, I want to lose 50 pounds, I like to think, in the business world of lead indicators and tracking those instead of that end state goal. And then occasionally you do check in or review where you're at towards that goal, whether it's a DEXA scan or a blood test or whatever, see if you're moving in the right direction. But to jump back to the last question, I had a revenue goal for 2023. And because I was doing 7X, I was like, it's just going to happen. It was like, if I do this, the revenue will come, and I failed miserably. So I'm going to do, like from a business standpoint, my plan is to utilize some of the same systems I coach against personal performance in my business for 2024.
I love that, dude. I love oh, wait, let me stand up real quick. This is for you, Alex. I didn't want to make sure that it's not lost.
And does that say 2024 on the back?
Hey, no, that's a goal for 2023 still. Beat Army every year. It doesn't matter. You don't tie a goal to that, or you don't tie a date to that. That's just every year. But hey, I think I love how you emphasize the systems, and I think we're going to get into this a little bit as well. But the goal process, what I hate about it is that oftentimes there's not a lot of rigor that's truly applied to get to a deeper level of why, right? Like we sit in the hows a lot and we sit in the, maybe even the what's, but we don't get into the whys. We don't truly spend time to be introspective on understanding what it is that we want to do, why we accomplish it, what's it important, why is it something that'll add to my life, detract from my life. A lot of times, and Stu is one of these guys. He's a checklist guy, right? So like the idea of making a checklist in and of itself has a beauty to him that I never understand and nor do I apply, but that's a very real thing. Our other business partner is very similar. Steven is a checklist, and there's a lot of benefit to that, and there's a lot of really goodness in that process. But a lot of times, most of us just kind of stop there. And I love what you said, Alex, that we're losers, because that has a very real, that's, one of the things that when we talk in the group or I coach individuals one-on-one is the idea of most of us set so many things, like even in a daily schedule, such a long to-do list that every night when we go to bed, we subconsciously we're a loser. We did not accomplish, we lost the day. And it's very hard to come back and turn around and say, okay, what am I truly grateful for? Like the level of effort required to get to that place is so high and so significant that oftentimes our goals, our to-do lists, the things that we're doing are actually leading us further away from where we want to be And a lot of that's at the subconscious level. So I love that you brought that up, Alex. Thank you.
By the way, I'll make a little box so I can check it even after I've accomplished it, just so I can check it. That's my system. That's what works for me.
And just with a raise of hands, this is kind of an impromptu question. How many of you think Stu's a loser for that? I think that's no hands.
Wait until I get my next DEXA scan and show what I've accomplished.
That's because we all do it.
Everybody who's off camera is raising their hand right now. I guarantee you.
All right. So speaking of why, David went into it a little bit, but so one of the things that we really try to hit on from the very beginning of the Kinetic Man Mastermind is setting the foundation. And I think a lot of people miss these steps of setting the foundation. But that's where we start. Like, you have to figure out, one, your identity, like who you are as a person. Because I think a lot of us just get, blasted with expectations and obligations and what your parents told you and, what the world tells you. And we have these ideas and potentially lies about who we are as individuals. And so I think we have to kind of like reset, right? Like step back and figure out who we are as individuals. So figure out who we are as humans, as men. And that's the first step, is figuring out identity, figuring out your core values, like what truly matters to you. I think a lot of us in the business world, we have core values for our businesses, and they're plastered all over our website, but we don't have core values for ourselves or for our family. We don't have those plastered anywhere, and we don't live by them. And so we just like flounder through life with like what we think our identity is, and that might not even be the case. And then, talking about, David was hitting on the why, like figuring out our purpose, and we have to figure out who we are first. We have to figure out our core values and our identity and where we are, who we are, and then figuring out what we were called to do in this world. And then from that, we create habits. We create the stuff that sticks, the system that Alex, talked on, like what is going to stick for long term. But all of this is hard. It's like super hard. And it takes a lot of self-reflection. It takes a lot of internal work, like sitting alone in silence and journaling and thinking and reflecting and looking back in your past. And some of it can be pretty painful too. We do a lot of, personality tests, the strengths finders and the Enneagram and the Myers-Briggs. Like David and I have done all of them, and they're all uniquely different, but they're all really great because it really gives you some insight on who you are. And so that's where we start inside the mastermind. I know a lot of these guys that are on here have done that, and I think it's been pretty helpful for them. So we start first there with the foundation, and then it's a journey along the way. It's like you're not going to get it overnight, and the more you do it, the more reps you do, you're going to find stuff about yourself along that journey. Goody, you got anything on that?
Well, yeah, and everything you just described is we laid it out in our curriculum that created, but that's like a 3-month process, right? That's literally, we spent 3 months on going through these things. And for Stu and I, at least, and a lot of guys in the group, this is an iterative process that has taken, continue to be something that we do years later. And you never get to that point. If you ever get to that point where you're like, man, I made it, I know myself, like I got it, then you need a different group, right? You need to go into a different circle to help yourself grow, expand, because it's something that it is, the beauty of it is it never ends. I'm reading a book right now just as a resource. Love this book. We have this guy, actually, he's coming on next week. I don't know when the podcast will drop, but Jordan Grummett wrote a book called Taking Stock. Phenomenal book. I'm in like chapter 3 right now, and it is one of the things he says that really sticks out. So he was a hospice doc, and yep, Stu's got it right there. He was a hospice doc, and he's basically giving lessons, kind of from a financial perspective, but also just life lessons on the things that he learned from people who are going through hospice, right? And one of the things that he highlights that's so fascinating to me is, he said, the clarity that most people get. So that a terminal diagnosis is typically the worst day of your life. But he said in his experience, what he's seen is after the shock of the diagnosis hits, it also is one of the biggest blessings that these folks have, because it enables them to get to a place of seeking absolute clarity and seeing what's truly important. And his point obviously is, why do we have to wait for a terminal diagnosis to get there? We can do this well ahead of that. And there's exercises, very specific things that he lays out. There's very specific things that we lay out that can get you to a place that the day-by-day journey becomes a priority, and it becomes really the essence of moving forward, instead of waiting for that diagnosis. And so I just thought it was fascinating. He said it in plain language that, hey, this could be a huge blessing for them, right? That they get this diagnosis, because now it removes the ambiguity and the mystery of life and death. And it puts you in a place where you're like, okay, today counts. Today matters. What am I going to do? What's most important? Where does my time go? So I'd highly recommend that book for any of those, for any of you guys who haven't heard of it. It's called Taking Stock, Jordan Grummett. Go ahead and grab it. All right, Stu, next. So we're military guys, right? Stu and I are military guys. Our other partner, military guy, a couple military guys on here. We love acronyms. Acronyms is a part of our life. It's something that we live, breathe, and eat. And so we came up with an acronym that really is the framework of what we do in the mastermind. So 4 letters. There's 4 weeks in a month. Real. It's the real framework. And what real means is REAL is reflect, execute, account, and live. And this is the our focus of this webinar is just to expose you to this, because we run the Kinetic Man Mastermind, right? It's TKM, it's not PKM, it's not the Potential Man Mastermind. And I think where a lot of us go wrong is we live in a world of potential. If you take the step to dive deep, and the R being reflect, if you take the time to dig deep, which is something that we absolutely love doing, then you're like in the top tier of people that even give yourself time to even think about these things, right? And so what we do, we ask ourselves hard questions, we reflect on them. Again, the reflection week is we reflect on them. And that exercise in and of itself is something that will set you apart, just because we're so busy, we don't give ourselves any capacity even to think about these things that are important to us. And I think the second part of that is you also gain an outside perspective, right? We do this in a group of men, high performing dudes. Everybody respects each other, but we challenge each other. And if you're not doing that, if you're not running these ideas, someone to challenge your thoughts, someone to challenge your just the way that you've grown up and the biases that you have, if you don't have dudes in your group, in your circle, that are challenging you and they're giving their perspective, then I honestly don't think we can really get to what's truly important in our lives. But that's what we do in Reflect Week, right? We sit down, we get in a group, we reflect, we challenge each other, get different perspectives, and we force ourselves to take the time to contemplate what's truly important priority to us. The next step is the E, it's execute. This is what we are all about. You take action. What are you going to do about it? So you've sat down, you've kumbaya'd, you've come up with these things, and this is so important, and this is so lovely, and I love these dudes, and we had a great conversation. It's awesome. A lot of people stop there, but we want to take it a step further. So what are you going to do about it? What are you going to execute? And that's what the E is all about. We take action on creating new habits that align with our purpose. And it doesn't even have to be a habit in the second week, right? It's just taking action on something that enables you to move the ball forward and actually take action, to meaningful action, to do something to get after your purpose. And then the A is account. This week is one of our favorite weeks. It's where you come back together and you have to say what you did, right? You have to say what you did. And if you didn't do anything, you got to say that you didn't do anything. And that's okay. It's okay to do that. But when you're surrounded by a bunch of dudes who are doing stuff and you're like, I didn't do anything again, man, it starts to get awkward, right? And we've had guys leave the group. Quite frankly, we've had guys leave the group because they weren't doing the things. And you could see the discomfort. You could see the it comes across as are my priorities really my priorities, but I'm not getting anything about them, right? And just something, I looked this up, and there's stats out there. I really like these ones. There's other ones that are very similar, but it's the percentages of success or taking action, what you're doing, right? So if you have a good idea or a goal, you're 10% likely to complete that goal. So if you have an idea, you have a goal, maybe write it down. Consciously deciding that you will do it, there's 25% chance of success that you're going to do it. Deciding when you're going to do it, that bumps to 40%. So basically put it on your calendar. I'm going to do this every morning at this time. It's on my calendar. There's a 40% chance of success. Planning how to do it, right? So if you were to take the gym analogy, if you put it on a calendar, I'm going to do it this time every morning, and then you actually plan, you put your gym bag out, you put your shoes in it, you're ready to go, 50% chance of success if you do that. If you commit to someone else that you will do it, hey, Stu, I'm working out at 5 o'clock every morning. I got my gym bag packed. I'm ready to go, 65%. All right. So that's pretty good, 65%. If you have a specific accountability appointment with someone you've committed to, 95%. If you know you're going to be in a group consistently or be with a person consistently and meet them face to face and either account to them or do that activity with them, 95% success rate. And that's not David, that's not Stu, that's not, that's not Alex, that's not Jamel. That is stats that are coming from serious studies on habits and serious studies on commitment. And so just take stock of that, right? How committed are you? Are you a 10% committed to your goals or to the things that you're saying are important to you? Or are you a 95% committed? And there is a framework to do that. And then finally, the L for us is live. That's the live it part. So you've gone through, you've thought about something which sets you apart from most. You've taken action. You've decided to execute on this thing. You've accounted for it. You have accountability group. And now this is something that's going to make your calendar, and it's something that you're actually going to do that's required work to make a change, right? You're going to live it. And people, it's not just for you. So if part of this thing is being a better dad, who truly benefits from that, right? If part of this is, I want to be a better friend, who's truly benefiting from that? Very selfishly, you are going to benefit 100%. You got more friends, you have deeper relationships, you're going to benefit. But you're now also sharing the essence of who you are with those folks, right? Your kids are going to benefit potentially generationally because you've made a decision to be present. And for those of us whose dads weren't present, is that really impactful? I don't know. That's for you to decide. I'm going to be a better husband. These are serious questions to serious questions to consider. And the impacts, while simple, it just, some of them are just a little bit of time, are absolutely profound in what they look like, not only in your life, but in the life of those that you're impacting.
And let me just give a practical example of something that happened with me while going through this process. I've been married for 15 years now with my bride. And if any of you know, like at some point along that journey, like it can get stale, right? Like you could just become like roommate status, right? You're helping and try to raise the kids. You got your jobs and you barely see each other. You talk every now and then. It's typically about the kids or whatever else is going on. And so one of the months that we talk about is intimacy. And if you really dive into what intimacy means, like defining and discussing, which we do in the Reflect Week, it's really like getting to know that person, like being a friend. And, most people say that their wife is their best friend, but like, do you really know that person? And so like diving into that, what do we need from each other, from our spouses? And how do we execute on that? We also do what, they call it the love languages. So we take this quiz, we look at like what our love languages are, what our spouse's love languages are. And so from that, I figured out like, hey, I don't ever talk to my wife during the day. I leave the house, drop the kids off, I go to work. I don't talk to her again until I come home. And like, and we talked about it. I was like, hey, what if I just like did a check-in with you on a regular basis, once a day, set up just a quick text or something like that. She's like, yeah, I'd love that. And so started executing. She's my accountability partner on that because she knows it's going to come. And then I put it on the calendar. Like it's literally on the calendar on my day. It says check-in. And so I just do a quick check-in. It's either a phone call, if I can jump on a phone call, or if it's just a text, maybe it's just a, hey, I love you. But hey, how's your day going? And it's just something super simple and small that has drastically changed our relationship for the better, and built, more intimacy in our lives, for the love of my life. So just, a real example there of something that I did personally. Okay. So, we talked about the live, we talked about the calendar. We heard this, one of our early guests on our podcast said something along the lines of, you can always see what's important to you by looking at someone's checkbook or their calendar. And so we've actually, we've really lived that. We've kind of stolen that quote And it's true. If you look at somebody's checkbook and if you look at somebody's calendar, that's what's important to them. If you say your family is important, but there's nothing on your calendar about your family, is it really that important? If you look at what your expenses go towards and you say your family is important, is it really that important? Maybe not. It's worth looking at. That Atomic Habits book, we like James Clear a lot. There's a lot of great stuff from him. And I think there's also a quote from him, Alex, that talks about, goals are dumb, systems are the way to go. But I read recently a blog of his that talks about, I think there's like this myth out there that it takes 21 days to build a new habit. It's actually really false. There's a lot of science behind it. And I think they said that it came from this guy, Maxwell Martz, in like 1960, who wrote a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. And he said it took a minimum of 21 days, but then like Tony Robbins and all the gurus out there, like stuck on that. Like, nope, takes 21 days, takes 21 days to build a new habit. It's pretty false. And it actually takes quite a bit longer to build a new habit. So you have to set these systems in place to get you there to create that new habit until it gets to be automatic. It said anywhere from 2 to 8 months, just depending on the person, depending on the behavior, how well you do at following rules, and are you self-disciplined? All that kind of stuff comes into play, your circumstances of how fast it takes to get to a true habit where it's just sticks automatically. So like David said, I'm a checklist guy. I make checklists for everything. There is this habit tracker app. And this is just a screenshot of my own that I did last year. And so I just tracked it. I just started tracking everything that I do on a regular basis. And to the accountability piece, I shared it with a bunch of dudes, and they jumped on it too. So that for me worked because it was something that I could check off every single day. I can see where I failed, where I was consistent, and it worked for me. So Goody, what worked for you? And I'm curious what other guys use to, if they've seen success.
Yeah. One thing too, a slightly different angle. A lot of times we put things into our calendar before really diving deep into it. And what I would encourage folks to do too is take a look at your bank account, take a look at your calendar, and just do an assessment, right? There's many tools that you can track your daily activities and take an assessment, a calendar assessment of what you truly do throughout the day, and track everything. How much time are you on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, whatever those things, if you're spending time on those things, like take no kidding an account. And what's fascinating about that, and you have to be open-minded to be honest, what's fascinating about it is when you take a look at that, there are truths that will come out of that. For example, this happened to me last night. I was looking at, I was trying to study something on YouTube for, I don't even remember what it was. And I had my youngest, my 7-year-old, who was, he was trying to play games with me. So I'm laying on my bed looking at this. And then I'm also like kind of quasi paying attention to him. Right. And he just wanted time. And I'll be completely honest, on my calendar, it was in the period of time that, that big red block right there every single day. That's titled kids time / phone down. That's what that's titled. So I was not honoring my calendar yesterday. I was in the midst of that period. And my son, he's 7. It was very clear to him through his language, what he said. He's like, Dad, like basically he's like, dude, you're paying attention to your phone, not paying attention to me. And here's the point of taking an assessment, a time assessment. You can come to the conclusion that where your time is the most important thing for you. And so in that moment, whether I intend it or not, my son knew that he was less important than whatever it was that was on my phone. He knew that inherently. And so you might as well be honest about it, right? You might as well label it for exactly what is going on, because that's how it's received. If you don't believe me, next time you go to lunch with a friend who's always on their phone, and they're always locked in their phone, and they can't spend enough. They can't even drop the phone to hang out with you. How do you feel? Be honest with yourself, right? Most likely you're going to feel hurt. We're a bunch of macho dudes in here. So you're not going to admit it. You're not going to admit that you're hurt, but that's exactly how you feel, because you are less of a priority. And most likely what's happening on that phone, where this really hits home, it's not that important. Like you're doing something stupid. Like you're watching some other dude with his kids making a TikTok video and posting that. You're watching that, and your own kid is potentially sitting there like, huh, wow, I'm not even as important as whatever it is dad's watching. And it's inconsequential what you're watching. And so that is something that when you look at your calendar, when you take an assessment of your daily activities, when you take an assessment where you spend money, just be honest with yourself about it. Just be honest and say, you know what, this is my priority. This is clearly what is most important to me. And it will be very telling the more honest you are about that. Right. And that drives change. I still right now feel regret. I'm not a big regretful, backwards looking guy. I feel regret for the opportunity I missed, even though it was short and I corrected it, luckily. But for the time that I missed and the message I sent Noah, I'm still regretful about that. And so you're never going to be perfect, but you can be better. You can be better and you can be intentional. And that's a great exercise to figure that out. Go ahead, Stu.
Our kids are probably the best accountability partner that you could possibly have. If they know that there's a time period on your calendar where you're supposed to be present with them, and they know that you're supposed to be putting the phone down, and if you're not, they're going to call you out every single time. I love it. Did you tell Noah, David, yesterday that he just wasn't the priority right now for you in your TikTok video?
Yeah. I mean, he's 7. I looked at him straight in his little first grade face, and I was like, "Look, dude, you should see this YouTube short that just popped up. It is so good." And playing hide and go seek right now in this moment is not
that important.
A priority for me. No,
that's
not
good.
Not that important to me.
Good.
And he received it well. I mean, he received it well.
It was good dad tips on this webinar. Yeah.
No, it's good stuff. Awesome. Be honest. Hey, 2024. So 2024 right around the corner. We love. There's a guy named Donald Miller. It's funny because I have seen a significant kind of shift in his just what he puts out as an author. But years ago, I read this book called Blue Like Jazz. Transformative book. Awesome. He wrote a couple other books, a lot of stuff about dad wounds and things that he was working through, but phenomenal Christian author. But now he does Business Made Simple, has written a couple books, Story Brand, and is very focused on business coaching and pretty phenomenal individual. But he also does podcasts and has a ton of stuff, really high quality stuff. He says, what will make 2023 great? And we completely agree with these things because it aligns very well with what we're trying to do, not only in our lives, but TCAM at large. And so first, define your role as a husband, father, and friend, right? So define your role as a husband, father, and friend, and put action steps to that. Donald Miller calls it your job description. We in TCAM, we about last year, I think we developed this roles PDF, and we'll send it out to everybody on this call. But it's a roles PDF that really helps you dive deep into these roles. And it ends, most importantly, in action items, right? You identify the action items that you're going to do to be better in these roles. And it's pretty, if you take it seriously, very powerful exercise and one that we love. 2, make a bucket list, right? Like, and again, I'm not a big bucket list guy from the perspective of like, go see the thing. Nothing wrong with that. But that's not really the way that I like to look at it. What I like to look at it is a bucket list that no kidding, you schedule and pick 3 things, hard, fun, and give. Put no kidding in your calendar, 3 things you're going to do that are hard. And Alex just popped up on my screen. You want to see something hard, hit him up offline and ask him about jumping from an airplane into all 7 continents in 7 days, landing on the ground, running a marathon, and doing whatever else they did, and then getting back in an airplane and going to the next continent, doing that in 7 days. That I think was hard. I don't know, Alex, you can shake your head yes or no. It sounds hard to me, but beat an army. So do something hard. Do something fun. Like guys, like fun is something that is a huge. I think we neglect fun to our own peril, right? So Stu and we intentionally schedule every Thursday something fun. So whether it's snowboarding, mountain biking. This week, if you're local, we're going to go to Top Golf, but just something fun that really combined, with your dudes and also with your family. Like be that fun dad. It's actually fun. It's really enjoyable. So get something fun on your bucket list, and then give. There's very few things in this world, if anything, that are as rewarding and character building and beautiful as giving. And so get something on your list, a goal that you want to achieve through giving, however you do that, time, effort, money, whatever that looks like, just get it out there. All right. 3rd, This one, I love it. It's different. Create a boundaries list. Identify the things you're not going to do this year. Like, do like an anti-goal list. I am not going to do these things this year, right? And make a list of the things you are not going to do and commit to that. Because we picture it as a pyramid. And at the top of the pyramid, it's yes. And everything below that are no's. So be intentional with your no's to get to the most powerful yeses. And so create that list and make your I am not going to do this year list. All right. And then finally, invite a friend. Right. If you want to help make a change in their life, and you want the power of accountability in your own life to make changes, be each other's accountability partner. Don't be afraid of this. Don't be afraid of vulnerability. Don't be afraid of honesty. Get a dude that you trust. Tell that dude, hey man, I trust you. I love you. I'd like to do this journey with you, and just see what happens. Right. I wouldn't recommend Stu. For those of you out there, I don't know. That's just not my recommendation, not my top recommendation, but find that guy and reach out. And in the process of doing that, just observe the beauty of the relationship and how somebody responds when you tell them, hey, dude, like, you're super important to me. I just want you to know that. Just that is unique and it's different. And I guarantee you that whoever that individual is going to feel, they're going to be floating, right? And we need to do more of that. So go do that.
I don't ever hear that from you, David.
What's that?
I don't ever hear that from you.
Oh, it's because I actually have somebody else, and
and
they've heard that. They've heard that. Dude, I don't want to let anybody know. I don't want to embarrass them.
Oh,
but Ben, dude, we'll chat later, Ben. Can't wait.
Oh, that's good. All right. So this is our final slide here. This is just, for the guys that are new here that don't know much about us. A lot of the dudes on here are mastermind members. But like David said, hey, we're really on a mission to create fellowship, to create more connections. In-person connections are the best way to connect. So we just started sending invites out every single week and going and doing fun things. We decided Thursdays were our day. And so we, some of you guys are on it. We go do 14ers, we go hike, we go snowboarding, we play top golf, we have coffee, we do lunch. We try to just find new fun stuff and locations to go and do. So that's here locally in Colorado. If you're listening to this, it's probably gonna be a podcast later on. If you're listening to this, if you're in Colorado, you can check out our meetup page, Kinetic Man Mastermind 310, or you can just go to our website, and there's a big banner at the very top, and it says, come join Stu and Dave and hang out with us. You can click on that, and that way you'll get an actual, no kidding, calendar invite from us if you do that. Steven, our third business partner, he started what's called the Manifesto. It's a newsletter. He's on episode 3. 3 came out last week, so episode 4 will come out, or issue number 4 will come out, I think, next week. It's bi-monthly. It's really, really good. It's just 3 to 4 items that we're thinking about, talking about, heard, action steps. It's like a really quick read, but there's some, no kidding, like, great stuff in there. So if you are interested in joining that, check out thekineticman.com/newsletter. And then recently what we did is another thing called Leveling Up. We are almost on episode 300 of our podcast. And what we realized is we have a ton of great guests. And David and I get a ton of great information, advice before recording and after recording. And that just kind of gets held internally by the two of us. And there's some like life-changing stuff. And so recently we're like, hey, we should just record, maybe a question or two of advice from these guests, and then, give that out to our listeners. And so we just started doing that. We've been doing that for about 3 months now. We have some amazing advice from some of our guests, and you can get that if you go to kineticman.com/levelup. It's super cheap. It's $2. It's $2 a month. And like one piece of advice would be well worth it. Like David said, we're actually having Jordan Grummett, Doc G, on next week, and I can't wait to hear his 3 minutes of advice. So check that out if you're interested in it. And that is all I have for a plug. What else, David? You got anything else? Anything funny to say?
No, man. I used up most of my Stu jokes earlier, but I will say, in all honesty, we're super grateful for you guys giving us your time. Thank you guys for joining this call and interacting with us, and just it's a huge honor when people give time to things like this. And so thank you for that. I know that some of you guys had to sacrifice to be here. So thanks.
All right. I will end the recording, and we can just stay on for a few extra minutes if you guys have any thoughts, ideas, questions. But if not, then thanks for showing up, and guys have an amazing day.
Yep.
Hey, before we let you go and tackle the day, we wanted to tell you about a new product coming out called the Manifesto. It's a newsletter. It's free. It comes out twice a month, and we give actionable steps, insights, and inspiration to help you on your journey to becoming a better man. We aim to be the highest value per minute email in your inbox every time. So go check it out. You can go to thekineticman.com/newsletter. Again, that's thekineticman.com/newsletter, and sign up for the Manifesto. It is going to be awesome. See you.
Thank you for listening to the Kinetic Man podcast. If you are growth-minded, community-focused, and willing to take uncommon action to redefine success and live an abundant life, visit our website at www.thekineticman.com to see all the ways we can connect.
And on our website, you can find more information on everything we're doing, like joining our meetup page to get the details on our webinars and our local Thursday gatherings here in Colorado. From our site, you can also find more information on and sign up for the next Kinetic Man retreat and the next house of our mastermind group. Finally, we always appreciate your love and support. Please share this episode and go rate us on your favorite podcast player of choice.
Thank you again. Now go take uncommon action.